There's a question which is asked, on all holidays, we recite the Hallel. We give thanks to God and praise for what took place at that particular time. Whether it's Pesach, Passover, Shavuos, which we celebrate, Jewish nationhood, the giving of Torah Sinai, or Sukkos, which is our trek in the desert, how God had protected us for the 40 years, miraculously. Maybe you would say we only say the Hallel, the praises of God, when we celebrate Torah holidays, biblical holidays. Rabbinical holidays, maybe not. But it's clear this is not the case. Hanukkah, which we celebrate the victory over the Greek armies, the refurbishment, rededication of the temple after it was desecrated by the Greeks with idolatry. We say Hallel for 8 days. It's an 8-day rabbinical holiday, and we say a full Hallel. So the Talmud asks, so why Purim, which we're speaking about the destruction, the extinction, the annihilation of the Jewish people, the miraculous hand of God intervening at the last moment, why don't we offer our praises to God for what actually took place? So there's an opinion in the Gemara, in the Talmud, which answers that the reading of the Megillah itself, that is the expression of Hallel. In the Aramaic, the Talmud says, Kriyosa zu Hallelo. The reading itself is the Hallel. Hallel, we verbalize, we express our thanks to God, that He's worthy of praise. If you read the Megillah, we begin with the inaugural feast of Ahasuerus 3 years into his kingdom. The feast that he had made for all the countries which he had reigned upon, and everything that followed, to finally the destruction of Amalek, the Amalekites, and many other things, and how the story is recorded for posterity, and it was distributed throughout the world to all Jews. And rabbinically, we must celebrate and commemorate this day and feast to celebrate the miracle that had happened. How is that the Hallel? How is that Hallel? Where are we singing God's praises? The law is that if a person omits even one word from the Megillah, does not say all the words from the first word to the very last word, one does not fulfill his obligation of reading in the Megillah. Although, seemingly, it doesn't detract from the story, but evidently it has relevance to the narrative, to the event, to the historical event. And if it was written with a specific intent. That when we read it, there's something innate in those words containing certain nuances of information that affect our lives when we read it. And that's why if one even should leave out one word or one letter, one does not fulfill his obligation of the reading in the Megillah. The Talmud tells us that although women are normally exempt from time-oriented commandments, meaning if time is the determining factor why one must perform and when one must perform the mitzvah, such as the blowing of the shofar, the sounding of the shofar, which is only sounded on the first day of the month of the year, the first day of Tishrei. On a Torah level and a rabbinic level, a woman has no obligation whatsoever to listen to the blast of the shofar. Of course, she's permitted, and according to Ashkenazic tradition, even to say a blessing on this mitzvah, on this commandment, although she's not obligated. So if on a Torah level, any time-determined commandment, a woman is exempt, So something which is rabbinical, such as the reading of the Megillah, or the 4 cups of wine, which we drink at the Seder to commemorate the 4 expressions of redemption, or Hanukkah, which we light 8 days, the Hanukkah lights, a woman definitely should be exempt. But yet, a woman is obligated no less than a man in drinking the 4 cups of wine at the Seder, lighting the Hanukkah lights, and the reading of the Megillah. The Talmud asks why. The Talmud answers, Af hein hoyu bosan this, that since the women were beneficiaries of the miracle of Purim, the decree to annihilate was not only the men and the children, the women were included in that decree. When the miracle took place, they are no less beneficiaries of God's kindness than the men. Therefore, the woman has no less obligation to publicize the miracle and to read and to hear the narrative to understand what transpired and why we exist today. Identically, Hanukkah, the Greeks had many decrees. The women were no less included in that decree. In terms of bondage in Egypt, the women were no less in bondage than the men. Therefore, although it's time determined and only rabbinical, Av hein hoyu bosan nes, because they were also included and beneficiaries of the miracle, therefore they have no less obligation than the man.